Yes!
You're very loud.
Oh,
Crazy.
I'm sorry.
That-
Did I just kill you?
I'm now deaf in my left ear.
Oh,
That's alright though.
I was really excited to see your face.
It's an exciting face.
I like your hair though.
Is the interview started? Is this the interview?
Well, I normally do a bit of flirting at the start just to make people feel good.
But is the flirting part of the interview that will be witnessed by other people, or are we going to keep that between me and you?
It's entirely up to you.
I think it's all good, you know. I think you just let's just keep it organic. Anyway, you were talking about my hair.
Yeah, your hair is a bit longer than normal, is it not?
Yeah, I've had it. I last had it cut in. Actually, it was like 2 or 3 days before the lockdown started. You know, original lockdown.
So that is like 6 months of hair growth.
It's
for
just
you.
6 months. You're probably not seeing all of it in its true glory.
Can I see it all then?
You want me to unfurl?
Yeah.
All right. So it's kind of. I mean, at the front, it's just kind of overgrown, but there's a lot at the back.
Beautiful.
You know.
You're probably too young to know Robin of Sherwood with Michael Praed.
I like it that you started that by saying that you're probably too young to remember, because I've noticed one of the things that happens when you get older is that people stop starting their sentences like that. You're probably too young to remember. You're probably one of the few people that I that I know that still says that to me, so it makes me feel very good.
That makes me feel very old.
There was something very interesting that you said to me, actually. Well, I say very interesting. It's a thing that I remember for whatever reason. It stuck in my head, and you basically, I think it was when we were on that crazy trip to Russia, and we were talking about, I think we were talking about how your attitude towards being a musician and towards life in general changes as you get older, and you sort of laid it out for me, is that in your 20s, Paul, you know, you're gonna want to conquer the world and be the best saxophone player in the world, and then in your 30s this is going to happen, and you're going to start to become more kind of pragmatic with your outlook and generally a bit more mature with your general outlook on life and all of that. And what I'd noticed actually is that you didn't have any plan for what was going to happen in my 40s.
No, well,
and I was wondering, I wondered if now that I've sort of hit that milestone, actually a couple of years over the line, what you've got planned for me, you know, now that I'm in my 40s.
So I'm just trying to work out if this is what I said to you in Russia. Was what I used to say was the first 10 years I was focused on trying to get the music as good as I could, and then the second 10 years I realised that if I didn't get the sort of business thing sorted out and the promotional thing sorted out, it didn't matter how good the music was. Then after the second 10 years, I realised that because I was Scottish and playing jazz, no matter how good and you know, fat and all these other factors that, you know, constraints, there was only a certain limit to what I could achieve, no matter how much time and effort I put into the promotional stuff. So then the third decade, I went back to just trying to enjoy the music as much as possible, and feeling grateful for playing music with good musicians and trying to be able to make a living from it. Now, if that's what I said to you, if it was along those lines, then the 40s are in that last bit, which is
just enjoy yourself, basically.
Just do it. You're doing it because you love it, and just don't worry about all the other shit. Just enjoy it.
There's no way that we'd have got to this stage and still be doing it, especially after everything that's happened this year, and still be like figuring out ways that we can play music together and all of that stuff if we didn't really love it. So, you know, there's sometimes you sort of ask that question like, why am I doing this?
Well, you know, there's this sort of set of psychological theories about motivation, and I'm actually just reading the book about it called Drive by Daniel Pink, and for many years it's been this idea that people do stuff because of money and rewards, or avoiding punishment. So there's a sort of carrot and stick picture of motivation, and increasingly people start to find that actually quite often if you give people financial rewards for things, it doesn't really actually always work in quite a lot of situations, and people are much more motivated about feeling validated and a sense of value in what they do, and that's why stuff like all these open source software platforms and Wikipedia and things like that people do in their spare time or for free are actually very successful because people feel great about doing stuff like that. And I do think that improvising music with other human beings, especially when they're good at it, is one of the most powerfully validating human activities. I think it's just an incredible thing to do, and it makes you feel intensely human and
valued as well,
valued,
and supported.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like an analogy for that, as to what society could be as well, but also it's a real in the moment experience of that kind of love, and or it could be other things as well, all sorts of other stuff that's at play. I like that idea as well about motivation, and that ultimately when it boils down to it, money for most people isn't the big motivating factor, and that's like a big misconception. And
I mean, this is the conversational preamble I normally do before I tell people that the money for Playtime is really shit. But this is going way better than it normally does.
I'm fully motivated anyway, so don't worry.
So, what have you been doing in lockdown? And how have you kept yourself?
I've mostly been sitting right here, actually. I mean, for the most part of a year, I've worn out one or two chairs. I've got quite a nice, comfortable. Actually, bought a gaming chair. Even though I don't really play lots of computer games, it's the most comfortable one. And I've been sitting here. I've also got a practice space. I go and practice there. I've done a couple of little recordings and things for other people. One of the big things is that I've got much better at home recording myself, mixing, editing, doing video editing. All of that stuff has been like a real kind of upskill. And I've been writing loads and loads of music as well.
Great.
That's been something that I've been able to really get inside of. Probably the first year where I've done more writing than I have playing. So I've got lots of stuff on the back burner. I've also got an album that's in the can that was recorded over a year ago. That's Deepening the River, and it's
the big band stuff.
Sort of a big band album with some different angles, and it's now finished. We're working on the artwork, so hopefully that should be out in well, I'm hoping by the end of January. So
are you doing it on your own label?
Yeah.
Great.
I mean, I've just always. I mean, I kind of always have released music just on my own, and I think. I mean, obviously, from having run Caber that it's back at a point I think where having a record label that was able to bring together the scene a little bit was a great thing. Anything that I've done, it's essentially just me and other projects that I'm heavily involved in. But it's worked well for me, I mean, I don't have any sort of big ambitions to put music out on a major label or anything like that. That's kind of, I think I probably did when I was in my 20s, but now I'm in the third.
You're in the just
decade.
Enjoy it phase.
I'm in the just enjoy it phase, so I'm just gonna just sort of keep, I keep writing music, I keep playing, so I'm sort of observing that that's happening, and might as well try and do some stuff with it while we're here.
Great. Well, as you know, I came to see Deepening the River, and I really loved it. And I mean, I loved all of it, but it's a beautiful band. First of all, and the combination of traditional musicians, and there was a guy playing tabla, and just a real diverse, beautiful mixture of musicians that you chose. And the writing was wonderful, and there was this one bit where you had a New Orleans vibe with a Scots sort of traditional jig over the top or slip jig or something, which was like, wow. And I was going, you bastard! I should have got that one, but I never thought of it. And you did it, and it was like, wow, that's fantastic.
There was something very freeing that I discovered from writing things outside of my own kind of jazz bubble, outside of my own discipline, and it can be intimidating as well to go outside of that and try and write music that's not in your kind of specialist area, but also it's very freeing. And the freeing thing about it was that I realised that my expectations of what I might produce were much lower. so I just was pleasantly surprised every time I came up with something that it's like, well, that to me that sounds like a pipe tune. If I give it to a piper, they might disagree, but this sounds like the sort of scheme that I would write something for a Carnatic musician or set musicians to play with, and I've done my research and stuff. That seems okay, or this seems like the right sort of sound.
Is there any of that online at the moment? Could people go and hear that, or you have to wait for it to come out?
I have to wait for it to come out. But it won't be long. I probably will release a little bit of a preview of it. I'm at the moment just finalising the artwork.
This is going out in the interval of this week's Playtime. What did you think of the first set?
Pretty. I was good.
No. That's next week when this is Sophie Bancroft and Tom Line, my sister, are on. We've just heard their first set.
So I'm not talking about my set. This time travel thing is really, really confusing for me. So who am I talking about here? Sophie
You're the
and
first
Tom?
person to struggle with this. I've done this I've done this joke on 12 interviews now.
Is this a joke?
Yeah, because obviously we're filming this before Sophie and Tom's gig.
Before it's happened. Well, how will I know if it was any good or not?
It's being broadcast during the gig, so we're imagining that we've just heard the first set and we have to pretend.
So you want me to just be just to lie? What if I comment on something really out there and then it actually happens during the gig, like some sort of?
Well, then you would have to find out if you have psychic powers.
Yeah. Is that how you find out if you've got psychic powers or not?
No, I think you probably know already.
Because I know some people who do know that they've got psychic powers, but I don't think I'm one of them.
People often ask me and my brother if we have a psychic link, as identical twins. And I always say, no, in fact, we don't understand each other even when we're talking to each other in language, like out loud.
And also it's a funny dynamic as well because you're a drummer and he's a saxophone player, and I kind of know what that dynamic can be like. And I mean,
sax players are just, they've got that kind of ego, messianic, like I am a man of destiny thing. And I call it the fighter pilot and the ground crew mentality. Yeah. Saxophone players,
but you know that pilots. You know that that's your job, is just to bring the plane into land safely when it starts.
No, we're there to just fill up the petrol and just polish polish stuff, and we don't make eye contact.
What is that? That motion is milking a cow, I think.
We don't make eye contact with the pilots when they come out because they're so important,
But all joking aside, you're a really good drummer for a saxophone player to play with. It's just I think you kind of have a bit more insight than a lot of drummers do about saxophone players, and I think part
how
of
difficult it is to be a saxophone player. How awfully difficult it is.
It's really hard, but you're kind of like, you're sort of a good babysitter,
Oh, that's very nice of you to say so.
The last gig that I did before lockdown was in Ronnie Scott's, and I was eating a burger in the dressing room and I broke a bit off one of my teeth. So I bought some temporary filling stuff and I had this idea that, I was going to just sort of be doing my own dentistry from now on, and cutting my own hair and doing all that stuff for the entertainment of other people in between, two sets of a gig. What was it you called it? Promotion?
Yeah.
That that could be quite a good thing to do, but maybe that.
Do your own dentistry?
Yeah, it would be guided as well because I know that you're a dentist, so kind of a doctor.
Doctor.
Doctor. So
Yeah,
you
I
could be
mean,
there to make sure that I'm doing it properly.
there must be a jazz musician who's also a dentist. A lot of jazz musician doctors, but
Dentist, not so much.
well, there's got to be a jazz dentist joke. There's obviously Tooth Thielman, Julie Gillespie, Fluoride Purim.
Wait a minute, have you? These are pre-prepared, aren't
No, this is just yeah. Just briefly, what are we doing next week? What's the plan?
they? A bit of dentistry, a bit of hairdressing, but mostly improvisation. I think maybe some new compositions that will open up into some exciting adventures in what is it?
New adventures
Music.
in music. That was quite frightening there when you leant. It was almost like you came out of the screen.
But I think the last time I did Playtime, I played the music of Cannonball Adderley, so it was away from the sort of free thing. But when I listen to you guys play, especially some of these recent live streams, I just really love because I think to play free, really you need to have that sort of rapport as a group. And you need to build that up probably over years and years. It's exciting for me to sort of stick a toe into that pool of free improvisation that you've been.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Let's do it. Okay, well, that sounds awesome. I'm looking forward to it. Both the improvisation and the tunes part, and whichever balance you choose.
Well, I'm looking forward to it a lot as well, and thanks for inviting me to come and play.
Yeah, so I think it's time to go. So, Paul Towndrow, you're beautiful. It's lovely to talk to you, and looking forward to next week.
Bye bye.